I think we've made travel too efficient. We obsess over the fastest flights, the shortest layovers, and the quickest way to get from point A to point B. And somewhere along the way, we stopped enjoying the journey itself. That's why one of my favorite travel trends involves spending nearly 2 weeks crossing an ocean with nowhere to be and no rush to get there. Today, we're talking about repositioning cruises and why I think they're one of the most underrated travel experiences available. What if your transportation wasn't something you endured? What if it was actually the best part of the trip? Most travelers spend thousands of dollars trying to maximize every minute of their vacation. More cities, more attractions, more activities, more rushing. But some of the most experienced travelers I know are doing the exact opposite. They're booking cruises with fewer ports, more sea days, and journeys that can last 2 weeks or more, and they're loving every minute of it. Today, we're talking about what I believe is one of the most underrated travel experiences available, transatlantic repositioning cruises. And by the end of this episode, you might find yourself wondering why more people aren't talking about them. Before we dive in, if you've been thinking about taking a cruise, whether it's a Caribbean getaway, an Alaska adventure, a Mediterranean sailing, or even a transatlantic crossing, I'd love to help you find the right fit. You can schedule a complimentary cruise planning chat with me using the link in the show notes, and we'll talk through your travel goals, your budget, and the experiences you're looking for, and I'll help you find the best options. Now let's talk about why repositioning cruises may be one of travel's best-kept secrets. Let's start with the basics. A repositioning cruise happens when a cruise line moves a ship from one region of the world to another. For example, a ship may spend the summer sailing in the Mediterranean, but when winter arrives, that same ship might move to the Caribbean. It has to get there somehow, so instead of sailing empty, cruise lines sell cabins for that journey. That's the repositioning cruise. These sailings often happen in spring and fall. You'll find ships crossing the Atlantic, moving through the Panama Canal, relocating between Alaska and California, and even making longer journeys across the Pacific. At first glance, they don't seem very exciting. They often have fewer ports, more sea days, and longer itineraries. But that's exactly why I think they're so special. One of the things I notice when talking to travelers is how much focus we place on getting somewhere. We want the fastest flight, the shortest connection, the quickest route, the most efficient itinerary. And efficiency does have its place, but sometimes efficiency comes at the expense of experience. Travel becomes something we endure instead of something we enjoy. A repositioning cruise flips that idea upside down. The journey is the destination. There are days when your biggest decision might be whether you want coffee on the deck or in the lounge, whether you're going to read another chapter of your book, or attend a cooking demonstration, or listen to a guest lecturer. You could watch the ocean or simply do absolutely nothing. And honestly, most of us could use more opportunities to do absolutely nothing. One thing I've noticed is that repositioning cruises tend to attract a different type of traveler. These aren't necessarily people chasing the biggest attraction. They're often travelers who have already done a lot. They've visited the major cities. They've checked off famous landmarks. And now they're looking for something different, something slower, something deeper, something more relaxing. The atmosphere on board often reflects that. People tend to settle into a rhythm and conversations become longer, friendships develop naturally, and you start seeing familiar faces around the ship. The experience feels less rushed and more connected. In many ways, it reminds me of the lessons I've talked about before when discussing slow travel. Sometimes the best moments happen when you're not rushing to the next thing. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this episode, I really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to Cheryl's Travel Blueprint on YouTube or wherever you're listening. And if today's conversation has you curious about cruising, I've put together a page featuring some of my favorite cruise itineraries and current opportunities to sail. You'll find everything from Caribbean voyages and Alaska cruises to Mediterranean sailings and longer journeys like repositioning cruises. So check out the link in the description to explore what's available. And if something catches your eye, schedule a chat and let's start planning your next adventure together. Now let's talk about another reason repositioning cruises deserve more attention. It's the value. Many repositioning cruises offer surprisingly attractive pricing. Think about what you're getting: transportation across an ocean, accommodations, meals, entertainment, activities, and fitness facilities, and in many cases, unique itineraries you can't experience any other way. Now, of course, you'll need to factor in airfare because most repositioning cruises are one way. But even with that added expense, many travelers find that they're getting tremendous value for the overall experience, especially compared to spending the same amount of money on a traditional vacation that feels rushed from start to finish. So let's be honest, repositioning cruises are not for everyone. If you need constant action every day, this may not be your ideal vacation. If you only have a week of vacation time each year, There may be better options, but if you enjoy reading, relaxing, meeting people, watching the ocean, taking your time, disconnecting from daily stress, you might absolutely love a repositioning cruise. They're especially popular with retirees, remote workers, seasoned cruisers, and travelers who appreciate the journey as much as the destination. I often talk about intentional travel with purpose, travel that aligns with what you actually need. And sometimes what we need isn't another packed itinerary. Sometimes we need space to think, to rest, to reconnect with ourselves, space to have conversations that don't happen in our everyday routines. And that's what I find so appealing about repositioning cruises. They're not trying to cram as many experiences as possible into every hour. They're giving you permission to slow down. And in today's world, that's becoming increasingly rare. The truth is, I think repositioning cruises are underrated because they challenge our assumptions about travel. We've been taught that more is better, more cities, more attractions, more activities, more experiences. But some of the most meaningful travel moments come when we slow down enough to notice what's around us. A sunrise over the ocean, a conversation with someone you've just met, a book you've been meaning to read for years, a chance to simply be present. And that's why I believe repositioning cruises deserve a lot more attention than they get. If a repositioning cruise is something you've been curious about, I'd love to help you explore your options. You can schedule a complimentary travel consultation through the link in the show notes. And if you've ever taken a repositioning cruise, I'd love to hear about your experience. Leave a comment or send me a message and tell me where you sailed and what surprised you the most. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves travel. And until next time, remember, travel isn't always about getting somewhere faster. Sometimes it's about just enjoying the journey